Now, before I get into the video in the normal style and fashion that I would on my own channel, I just wanted to start the video very quickly with passing my condolences um, to the family and friends and everybody who in a way was connected with Bertie Auld after the sad news yesterday of his passing. It was a story that I don't think any of us expected or any of us wanted to hear, and something that has truly gripped Celtic supporters and brought us together in a moment of sadness like these things do, but one that has brought together, I think, a lot of us to appreciate, talk about and just cherish everything about Mr. Celtic Bertie Auld. You know, through the sadness, through how devastating this news is, over the past 24 hours or whatever, I've sat down and I've smiled at so many different things. I've smiled at so many stories, so many photos, so many videos of Bertie Auld, because he perfectly embodied everything that Celtic Football Club is about and everything that makes me and all of us love our football club. His character, his personality, his passion, his grit, everything about Bertie Auld. It's everything that we know Celtic supporters for. Celtic supporters were fun-loving, we're friendly, we're overall a group of supporters who just, you know, love our club and we love the sport. And Bertie Auld was someone who was exactly that, someone who loved Celtic Football Club, who loved his football, and quite rightly goes down as one of the greatest characters in this club's history. Just everything about him was, you know, it puts a smile on your face, and to hear the news yesterday was incredibly saddening. So thoughts and prayers with Bertie Auld's family, with everybody connected with Bertie, to the Celtic family, everybody in this tough time. It's never nice to lose one of our club legends, you know, the Lisbon Lions. The reason for me, I've always sat down and said, you know, the Lisbon Lions are the greatest football team of all time. No one comes close to the Lisbon Lions, because the Lisbon Lions done something to a city, to a group of supporters, and to a culture that no other football team or club will ever do. Players like Bertie Auld, like Billy McNeil, like Tommy Gemmell, Bobby Murdoch, all these guys, the whole team, Jimmy Johnson, all of them, every single one of them. The way that they done something for a club and a city will never be repeated ever again. And guys like Bertie Auld will never ever see ever again. And that's why, for me, you could talk about how good players are technically and what they've done in the evolution of football, but as for an impact, there'll be nothing ever like the Lisbon Lions, and they'll never ever see characters like Bertie Auld again. Bertie Auld is someone who loved this football club right to the very end and wanted nothing but the best for this football club. And God bless him. An absolute legend, and someone that even at the age of 21 years old I will appreciate, cherish and remember as a Celtic supporter, because he's truly one of the greats, and just God bless him. Now, today's video, as you can tell by the title, is surrounding the fan media press conference with Ange Postecoglou. One that I had the chance to attend and speak to the man himself, which was an incredibly exciting opportunity, and we'll get into that. But I'm going to put in a clip now from the conference today where he speaks about guys like Tommy Burns, he speaks about guys like Bertie Auld, and I think it's great that a man like Ange Postecoglou, who's fairly new to the Celtic family and to the whole experience and culture of the club, I think it's so important and so great that he's captured the feeling and he understands what Celtic is and what its legends are. As he says, Australia's not another planet. He knows fine well who Celtic Football Club are and what we're about, but now that he's here, he's through the door and he sees it firsthand. It's fantastic. He's gripped it with, you know, every fibre of his being. You know, he's loving it. He's here and he's here to stay, and he's appreciating every moment of it, and him speaking about it today was truly phenomenal. But let us not forget Bertie Auld. Tributes pouring in from everybody, and it's great to see, and an absolute legend.
I've walked into here and I've just had a chat to Danny McGrain, and I just had to sit down before that and spoke to John Clark about his. I mean, it's, you know, I pinch myself sometimes because I'll bump into these guys and, you kind of realise, again, what a privileged position we're in. So it's not just for the youth players, it's for every person, every player that comes, every staff member that comes through here that, when you walk into a club like Celtic, irrespective of your position, you kind of feel, you're walking a little bit taller and you feel like you're a little bit stronger, and particularly in a position like mine. But that doesn't come from what I bring to it. That comes from the fact that I'm come into it, standing on the shoulders of giants. You're in an elevated position because of the people that have come before you and created this. I understand that it's past players, managers, supporters, the founders of this football club that create what it is here today. And you walk out in front of 60,000 at Celtic Park. I didn't create that. We didn't create that. The ones who are here now. What we can do is try to sort of honour that and bring our own little bit to it. But also always understanding that whatever success that we bring, this current group, to this football club, it's on the shoulders of some absolute giants that have come before us, and having them around is a constant reminder of that, should you need it. But I think that's the one thing that this football club does probably better than most, is that it understands its past, it heralds its past, and rightly places it in the highest possible position of this football club.
Right then, so Ange Postecoglou today was a phenomenal experience, a great opportunity for us in the podcast to be asked along to go and speak to the manager. I was there for a change. I didn't wheel McGinley out. I was there, so that was great. And what a guy. What an absolute legend Ange Postecoglou is. 45 minutes we were sitting in that call. He gave us all the time in the world. He was happy to speak to us, and he made all of his answers, really great. I was sitting there hoping that my question was good enough, and the guy just started going down different avenues, and I was like, "You're on your cell, Ange, get me tail." I was loving it. And he called me mate. So this channel doesn't get any better than that, I'm afraid. I think this could be the end. But no, it was a fantastic experience, and everybody along there today asked some really good questions to Ange Postecoglou ahead of what is a big week for Celtic. A big couple of weeks for Celtic. A big couple of months for Celtic, quite frankly. We've got a cup semi-final, we've got European football, and we've got a packed festive schedule ahead of that big game on January the 2nd. But as I have stressed time and time again, it's important as we look at this one game at a time. We don't think forward to then, we look at one game at a time from now. So that's what I wanted to talk about with Ange. Basically, my thought going into this was, okay, big semi-final coming up at the weekend. I would love to speak to Ange about his thoughts going into that game. And of course, Ange Postecoglou goes into this game with being his first visit to Hampden Park as a Celtic manager. So, that's an experience in its own, going to the National Stadium, managing in a big game to head to a cup final on the horizon. It's got to be one for Ange that's a new experience, but also, and he touched on in his answer, and something I think we're all quite quick to dismiss because we've been so successful at Hampden. A lot of people's first time playing there as well. You look at the majority of our team, they've never played at Hampden Park. They've never played there as a Celtic player anyway. There's so many guys in that team who are going to be new to this, and there's even guys in the team from last season who played at Hampden Park when we didn't have fans there. So this is a pretty big experience for a lot of the guys in the Celtic squad, that makes it an even bigger experience on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to that, and that's what I wanted to speak to Ange about. Now, Celtic have been incredibly successful over the past 5 years at Hampden Park, a quadruple treble. I mean, that says it all. We've basically made Hampden Park. I think there was a quote getting thrown around on Twitter last night, to quote the late great Bertie, saying something along the lines of, Hampden was like a training ground for Celtic because they were there so often. And over the past few years, we haven't just been there so often, we've won there so often. We have made it sort of a second home venue over the past 5 years, and I'm hoping that Ange Postecoglou can kind of adapt to that and make it as successful a venue as it was for Brendan Rodgers over those seasons he was here. So yeah, I spoke to Ange about that. He gave me a fantastic answer. Take it away, big man, and we'll get back together after he's been finished speaking. Also, very quickly before we go on, and I play the clip here, you'll notice that my mic cuts out on a couple of occasions. Now, I promised that I didn't kick myself on the spot. It was just technical issues, so apologies to Ange for trying to make out my question through tough circumstances. Hi Ange, pleasure.
You too, mate.
The last 5 years at Hampden has been incredibly successful for Celtic, winning multiple trophies. So how excited are you to manage at Hampden for the first time, given the chance to as well secure your first cup final with the club?
Yeah, super excited. Looking forward to it. As you said, this football club's been a regular participant and visitor to Hampden in recent years, and everyone tells me it's a fantastic experience. So looking forward to it tremendously, and I'm sure the players are, because again we've got the majority of our players will be their first time experiencing it as well. So we understanding it's a massive game for us in terms of the context of the season. We've done well to get us to this stage. I guess that was my sort of, not concern, but my biggest focus in the early part of the year was that I didn't want our inconsistency to cost us down the line, whether that was in Europe or in the cup or even in the league. That I knew we'd be up and down in the early parts because of having so many new players playing a different way, me being the new manager. There were some key games we need to hit, and we had that game against Hearts in the first round of the cup. It was really important at that time that we won that, because it kept us alive in this competition, because I knew that eventually we'd hit our straps. It was the same in Europe, even though we missed out on the Champions League, really important for us to get in the Europa League and just hang in there, and we've done that. And the same in the league. We obviously we dropped a couple of games early on, which you don't want to happen, but for me, I kind of knew that was going to be our challenge. So the fact we kept ourselves alive in all those things, and now, hopefully we're definitely more settled, and we're playing, fairly consistently now. I'm super pleased that we're giving ourselves an opportunity to play in a semi-final and then progress to hopefully a cup final. So. Great to be in this position. Now the job is to push on and make sure we take advantage of the opportunity that we've given ourselves by just hanging in there. And as I said, credit to the players and staff that they hung tough through that early period, and now it's up to us to sort of take it to the next step.
Thanks very much, Ange.
Thanks, mate. Thank you, mate.
So fantastic to hear. Obviously, Ange speaking about the stories he's heard of Hampden, and obviously some famous results there for Celtic in his history, and just football in general. Of course, a stadium that is lined with history. But Ange looking forward to that, which is incredibly exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And this is a massive chance to get back to winning silverware. Of course, we did win that Scottish Cup of the 2019-20 campaign last season, but we did, in terms of the 2021 campaign, go home with nothing last season for the first time since the Tony Mowbray season. That was the first season we hadn't won anything since then, and that's a weird feeling. We're Celtic, we win things, we don't not win things. So it's important that we get back to winning ways, and if Ange gets to a cup final so quickly in his tenure as Celtic manager, you can't complain with that. You've got to be happy with it, because there was a point where people were getting very bleak about things, and to talk about suddenly a cup final being in the horizon, that could be huge. But St John's not going to be easy opponents. We'll dive into that this week on the preview show and the podcast and everything else. It's going to be a big game. Overall, from the fan media conference, there was a lot of great takeaways, a lot of great things that Ange spoke about. Bertie Auld and Tommy Burns being one of the main things, and I loved listening to Ange there, and I think you'll be able to go and find the full media press conference elsewhere. I think Hamish will have it on his channel, and I think you'll be able to find it via the different outlets across social media. You'll see his answers to every question, but the way he sits down and the way he speaks about Bertie Auld and Tommy Burns and the legends at this club, a fantastic question by Declan that was asked to him, talk about how important is it to have these legends around the club and to youth players and everybody else. His answer was fantastic, and it's interesting listening to a guy who is new to Celtic, who is someone who's just came through the door, and how much he understands it. And I touched on that earlier in the video, but the story of Celtic Football Club and the history of Celtic Football Club is rich and filled with stories like no other club, in my opinion. You know, this is a club that is unique to any other, and the way he speaks about it all, and the way he understands it all. You seen him at the Tommy Burns story last week as well, and the way he wants to learn and find out more and all this. It's truly, it's heartwarming, it's refreshing, and it's something that, you know, I'm just incredibly proud of. I'm incredibly proud to have Ange Postecoglou as a manager, and he's been such a breath of fresh air since coming to the club, and I hope that continues. And speaking to him for the first time today, that was the vibe I got off him. Some great topics coming up as well. You know, just talking about Japan and talking about, you know, untapped markets. Big conversation surrounding Jota. I think that'll be something that you'll see discussed a lot on the podcast. Talking about Jota, people were asking, you know, whether or not we're going to bring him to the club permanently. Ange giving a fantastic answer, like, we'll do it when it's right for the club. If it's right for both parties and it's right for the club, then we'll do it. I don't think there's any rush to get there in January. You know, we were looking along those lines, Ange was saying, and that's good. You know, we're not jumping the gun, we're not jumping to conclusions, and as much as I'll say pay the money, we'll all say pay the money. You know, it's, from a manager's point of view, it's smart. We look at it being right for both parties, we're looking at being at the right time, and then we get the deal done. So there was so much that he covered in today's fan media press conference, but it was great to see him talk about the club, talk about the kind of impact guys like Bertie Auld, Tommy Burns have in the club. And I was happy to speak to him about Saturday, because I'm just dying to get back to Hampden, even though I hate Hampden. It's been 2 long years since I've been in there. It's been a weird feeling not being there. And I'm looking forward to getting back there and hopefully seeing Celtic win the game as well. Something that I was so used to before COVID happened, so I would love to continue that feeling. Going to be a lot of content regarding the League Cup semi-final on the channel this week, and other things as well. Hopefully more opportunities to speak to the gaffer as well over the next few months, so keep an eye out, and keep an eye out for the podcast, where we'll dive into both Ange Postecoglou and Bertie Auld a little bit more, pay tribute to him on the podcast. But until then, you know what to do, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.